Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Tomorrow is President's Day and I want to post some videos about President's Day. I want to post some videos about President's Day. Look up the video. Story of President's Day. Alright, here's the story about George Washington. A little bit about George Washington.
George Washington is a famous... George Washington is a famous and influential figure in United States history, and most importantly, the first president of the United States. George Washington was born in Westmoreland County, Virginia, on February 11, 1731. His family owned a plantation, and they were rich from owning land and growing tobacco. Most of his peers in Virginia received a formal education, but the same was not true of Washington. Although his older half-brothers attended a grammar school in England, the family did not have enough money to send George there. He likely had private tutors at home, and possibly attended a local school, but his education ended at age 15. Although he did not attend college, he did show an aptitude for mathematics. This led him to
George Washington. It's on the dollar bill.
When did George Washington become president? George Washington became the first president of the United States on April 30th, 1789, winning all votes in the Electoral College. His vice president was John Adams. He took his oath of office on the balcony of Federal Hall in New York City. During George Washington's time as president, there was no White House. Instead, he lived in rented homes in the nation's capital. Nope, not Washington, D.C. At the time, the capital moved between New York and Philadelphia. This meant that Washington spent time in both cities during his presidency. As the President of the United States, George Washington had a monumental task in front of him. Everything that he did would set the standard for future presidents and governments to come. Every little action could affect the growth of a new nation. What is George Washington known for? George Washington's story is linked to the birth of America as we know it today. He took part in some of the nation's most significant achievements, and his influence on the country can still be seen several hundred years later. For example, Washington served as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army during the American Revolution, leading to America's long-awaited independence from Britain. He signed a bill that chose a location for the capital of the United States, along the Potomac River, in an area that would later become Washington, D.C. Fun fact, George Washington is the only president of the United States who has a state named after him. The state of Washington, which is different from Washington, D.C., was granted statehood in 1889, long after his death. Its name was chosen to honor his achievements. Additionally, he declared the United States to be neutral in future conflicts between Great Britain and France. This was known as the Proclamation of Neutrality. He also signed the first Thanksgiving Proclamation, turning November 26th into an annual celebration and national holiday. Finally, Washington would also preside over the United States Constitution as it was being written. The Constitution is the foundation of democracy in this country. It lays out the rules on how America should be governed by future leaders. Facts about George Washington. Have you ever wondered if George Washington was born on February 11th, why do we celebrate Washington's birthday, or President's Day, on February 22nd? The answer to this is a tricky one. Washington actually has two birthdays. We switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar during his lifetime. His birthday was moved forward a year and a few days to February 22nd, 1732. Oh, if only we could all be so lucky to become a year younger overnight. Some people think that his hair was a wig, but it wasn't actually. He had his real hair powdered and styled every morning. Also, his teeth weren't actually wooden like many believe. They were made of metal, ivory, and real human teeth. Ew. George Washington is the only president to have never lived in the White House. It wasn't built yet, but he did oversee its construction. He also chose the location where it would be constructed. After retiring as the President of the United States, George Washington lived for only 2 years. He returned to his home of Mount Vernon and dedicated the rest of his life to making the farms functional and profitable. Washington and slavery. While his contributions to the founding of the United States will never and should never be forgotten, we also can't ignore that he was an enslaver. It can be challenging to talk about notable figures from the past without discussing their controversial positions or immoral actions. However, George Washington is no exception. It would be easy to write this off and say that he was a product of his time, but some people he lived and worked alongside also objected to the practice of slavery. His father died when he was only 11 years old. This led to him inheriting 10 enslaved workers at a young age. Even though Washington voiced public and private concerns about slavery later in life, he never stopped participating in it. By his death in 1799, he and his wife enslaved 317 people between them. It is also important to note that George Washington signed the Fugitive Slave Act of 1793. This allowed enslavers to arrest enslaved workers who were trying to escape. It also made it illegal to help someone trying to escape slavery. George Washington described slavery as a regret in his life. In his will, he wrote that all enslaved people he owned should be set free upon his death, but that they should continue to serve his wife Martha Washington until her death. It would be several years until most of them were fully emancipated. So, here are a few questions to prompt discussion and future research. Why did Washington wait until his death to free the enslaved people of Mount Vernon when he could have done so in life? Were the Black Americans enslaved by Washington actually freed, as the story goes? Or did they enter new forms of oppression? How can we reconcile our idea of George Washington, America's first ever president, with his personal life as an enslaver? That's all for now. For more information and resources related to George Washington, head to
Pixar comes in all the original series.
Everyone's chasing the feeling of a win.
Hey, Lori, you're famous.
Hi, kids! Today we're going to talk about a special holiday called President's Day. It's a day when we celebrate some very important people. the presidents of our country. Now you might be wondering, who are presidents? Well, presidents are like the leaders of our country. They help make big decisions and keep us safe. One of the most famous presidents was George Washington. George Washington lived from 1732 to 1799. He was the first president of the United States, serving from 1789 to 1797. George Washington was known for his bravery and leadership during the American Revolution. He was like a hero to the people of our country and is often called the father of our country. He led the American Revolution to victory, helping our country become free from British rule. Next, let's talk about Abraham Lincoln, another important president. Abraham Lincoln lived from 1809 to 1865. He was the 16th President of the United States, serving from 1861 to 1865. Abraham Lincoln helped end slavery and keep our country together during a difficult time. He was so tall that he was called Honest Abe, and he even appears on the penny. Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, which helped free millions of enslaved people. You can even visit his statue in the Washington, D.C. National Mall, a place where many people go to learn about our country's history. You might be wondering why you have a day off from school on President's Day. Well, it's because we want to remember and honor the great things our presidents did for our country. It's a special day to say thank you to our leaders for all they've done. Now that we've learned about these amazing presidents, let's have some fun with activities. On President's Day, we can do fun activities like coloring pictures of presidents, reading books about them, or even making a craft to celebrate. Grab your crayons and color in pictures of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and other famous presidents. Head to the library and check out books about presidents. You can learn even more cool facts about these historical figures. Now, it's important to remember that even though we've learned about George Washington and Abraham Lincoln today, President's Day isn't just about them. It's a day to honor all the presidents of the United States, from our very first president to the current president. Each president has made important contributions to our country, and President's Day is a time to recognize and appreciate their leadership and service. Isn't it fascinating to learn about these incredible presidents and the amazing things they did for our country? They each had their own unique talents and contributions, but they all shared a love for America and its people. Let's give a round of applause to these remarkable leaders. Thanks for learning about President's Day with me today, kids. I hope you had fun. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more fun learning adventures. See you next time.
Alright, if you like that President's Day video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to push the notification bell when I post our video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.